Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's Nick again. Here's an incredible opportunity for you to see a little bit more than normally you would ever see of a cruise ship. And that's because we're about a week away from delivery now. And for a last quick look around, they've taken the ship and put it in dry dock. And there are three things that guests always ask us about: azipods, stabilizers, and bow thrusters. And because, if you look down there, there's no water, we have a unique chance to go look at them. Follow me. We're going down into the dry dock. Those two gentlemen there, Chief Engineer and Staff Chief Engineer, and they're basically here for my safety. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we're at right at the aft end of the ship, and that behind me is one of these famous azipods. Now, in the old days, the engine was inside the ship, connected by a propeller shaft to a propeller. Not anymore. Now the whole motor is outside, and that entire pod can rotate through 360 degrees. It's huge, and I'm going to show you how big it is by going closer. Now I am 6'6". Okay, it hit me then, but it's big. Come down here and have a little look from the front. Alles good? Alles good? It's funny, you can find hams anywhere, even on propellers. Okay, this is actually the front of a pod, and you'll see the propeller is in front of the pod because these are actually tractors. These propellers pull the ship through the water. Okay, so this is the entire pod, and this is the cool thing. This entire apparatus can rotate 360 degrees. There's two of them, one on the port, one on the starboard side, and the captain can point these in any direction he wants, and that gives the ship just incredible maneuverability. With the two chief engineers, as I told you, from Solstice, from Equinox. They don't have microphones, but I just asked how much horsepower, for those of you that are interested in the technology. Each pod, 32,000 horsepower. 32,000 horsepower. How many megawatts?
20.5 megawatts.
20.5 megawatts, which I think somebody told me is enough to run a small city.
Yeah, of course.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, actually Dave, who's the cameraman, if you actually come around behind me, I actually have to tell you, I think this propeller, this azipod, looks even better. Look at that one. That gives you the full idea. Now I'm going to walk back into shot because this is about, I think it's about 18 feet in diameter. It's huge, like a windmill. But here's the cool thing. At full speed, this propeller rotates 130 times a minute. That's 18 feet of bronze. Is it bronze, Chief? Bronze? What's the material? Yeah. Bronze. I was right. Nearly over 2 times a second this thing rotates at full speed. Ladies and gentlemen, I should also inform you that this is completely unscripted because this is actually an unplanned visit to the dry dock. But the chief over there, just pan around and have a look at, that's the chief of the Equinox, the next ship. His name's Stavros. Stavros. So if you're going to go cruising on the Equinox, that's the chief engineer. He just informed me of another very important fact. We're breaking the record books. This is the biggest azipod ever constructed. So really is a unique opportunity to be in a dry dock on a brand new ship actually, but as I said earlier, not even launched yet. We're still about a week away from the ship being handed over, but they wanted to make a few last adjustments to a few things, bow thrusters, and actually the next thing I want to talk about, which are these stabilizers. You hear a lot about stabilizers on modern cruise ships, and we're going to have a look at one nice and close. Okay, so you're looking at the starboard side stabilizer, and effectively it's like a great big aircraft wing, and these devices keep the ship nice and stable on an even keel, even in rolling seas, simply by deflecting up and down. And as this is a prototype, this is the first Solstice class ship, before we take delivery we're going to make some inspections, make sure that they're perfectly tuned to give you absolute maximum comfort. Basically, obviously we have to retract them when we come into port, So at the moment it's extended, and then just in front of it you can see a big recess in the hull. And basically when we're done with them and we're coming into port, we simply fold it into the recess and it's flush with the ship, flush with the ship. You may be wondering what that water is there. Well, if you think about it, this ship is already fully active and all the generators are running to provide power on board, and that's cooling water. So we're somewhere, obviously there's some pipes plugged into the ship bringing cold water in, it runs through the engines and it comes out there. So I'm going to step back into shot here while you're looking at that. Basically, I'm going to try and make this understandable as the chief just explained it to me. So there it is, it's a wing, and it's sticking out the side of the ship. And just like an airplane, if the ship rolls a little bit because of a wave, the wing deflects and brings it back on an even keel. Pretty simple science, just obviously very, very, very big, powerful engineering. So, a bow thruster, from what I'm told, is nothing more than another propeller, but instead of pushing the ship along at the back of the ship, the propeller is mounted sideways. So this allows the captain to actually thrust the ship's bow to the port or to the starboard, depending on which direction he wants to go in. Give you an idea of how big it is. I'm 6'6", and I can't touch the ceiling. 5,500 horsepower each, three of them, 16,500 horsepower at the captain's command whenever he needs it. Here's the cool thing though. With all this water thrusting against the pier when the ship's being pushed away from the pier, for example in St. Thomas they had a problem with erosion, all that water eating away at the side of the pier. So now they've added another hole, this one here. This hole is completely empty, it's just a tube into right through the middle of the ship, and that way all the water being pushed against the pier now has somewhere to escape to, thus causing less erosion. That's not bad, I committed all that to memory. Okay, now the mark of a good television host is one that can walk and talk at the same time, so we'll prove that now. Okay, the last thing guests always ask about actually is the bulbous bow. And I don't think you're ever going to see a better example of one than right here. That is about as bulbous as a bow can get. And basically all it does, it has no function other than increasing the speed of the ship. They worked it out about, I don't know, about 30, 40 years ago, that increasing the size of the penetration, or the part of the ship that penetrates the water, actually, believe it or not, speeds the ship up. It also saves fuel and it makes the whole thing more economical. That is the biggest bulbous bow I've ever seen.
So from this white line, actually ship start from there is the forward bulkhead plate. Forward from here, it's only a strong steel plate, a very strong, extra strong. And the reason is because it's the bow of the ship, and as we know, we can run with 24 knots in any bad weather, waves or anything, something like that. So it's an extra steel construction after the white line.
So really there's like two bows of the ship, this one and that one?
And that one, yes.
Wow. Okay. Sandwiches. And no shipyard would be complete without sandwiches. Can I have a chocolate? Can I have one? Thank you very much. Because I tell you, this television hosting makes you hungry. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this somewhat hastily put together little presentation, but we simply had to show you some views of a ship that, generally speaking, guests don't get to see, the underside of our lovely lady, the Solstice. Beautiful. Now I'm going to go for a nice hot cup of tea. Isn't it?